Hi, my name's Claire Bickle and welcome to today's Green Thumbs Up episode. Today's topic is how to grow vegetables and herbs successfully in your own backyard. Whether you live in an urban area or out in the country or even in an apartment, you can easily grow fresh, organic vegetables. And to be honest, who wouldn't want to grow their own fresh produce that you can pick straight from your pots or garden beds? Additional benefits to growing your own fresh fruit, vegetables and herbs is that you can reduce your food miles. It's also fun and educational. So here we are in the garden bed, ready to get started. And the first step is to add organic matter. Today, I've chosen cow manure, and I'm going to start digging that through now. This is already a quite established garden bed, so I just need to really dig through the cow manure into this soil profile. Now this just needs to go into the top sort of 15 to 20 centimetres. If you're starting a garden from scratch though, you will need to get down at least 30 centimetres into that soil profile to give you that great depth of soil for your vegetables and herbs to get their roots down into it. Once I've dug this through and spreaded this out evenly, I'm going to water it in. And this will ensure that your soil is nice and moist, ready for your seedlings to go in. Make sure it's a reasonable amount of moisture to get down into that soil profile. You can actually do this a few weeks before you're even ready to plant, if you're keen. So the next step is the fun part, and that's planting your seedlings. In August, around Eka time, we're finding that we're coming into those longer days and warmer weather. So the choice of vegetables and edibles to plant is huge. We've got a whole range of things we could plant, but today I'm going to start off with some lettuce, probably a bit of kale, which is a bit late in the season, but we're going to give it a go. And now the weather's warming up, it's time to plant some basil as well. So let's start with the lettuce. When you get your punnets, make sure you squeeze the cells quite gently, and this will help get the seedlings out without damaging any of the roots. But before I start pulling them out, I'm going to dig a few holes. And the holes only need to be as deep as the roots are. All right, so I'm just going to dig the holes. We'll start off with 2. I've given these punnets a bit of a squeeze just to loosen those roots, and they should just come out really easily. These can be just planted to the depth of what they were in the punnet. Don't plant them too deeply. There are some vegetable seedlings like tomatoes, for example, which you can actually plant halfway up the stem and they'll produce more roots, but not with your lettuce. So just firmly push the soil down around the base of each lettuce plant. Water these in well with some seaweed, because liquid seaweed will help them be more resistant to temperature fluctuations, drought, and even pest and disease. The next step is to mulch your freshly planted seedlings. You can use pea straw, lucerne, sugarcane. Those mulches are great because they break down and add nutrients to the soil. Mulching will help conserve soil moisture. It will also suppress weeds. Today, I'm actually going to use a mulch called Hooflung Dung. Great name. The joy of this mulch is that it's biologically activated, so it's a mulch with fertiliser added into it. So not only is it doing the job of being a fully functioning mulch, it's actually going to feed these plants as they grow as well. Make sure you do a reasonable thickness. If your mulch layers are too thin, the weed seeds are going to be able to germinate and they'll start popping up through it in no time. Once I've spread all the mulch, it's a good idea to give it another water down. And because I've planted the seedlings, I'm probably going to add some liquid seaweed to that water, which will help reduce transplant shock. We've planted our seedlings. Now it's time to think about continued care. Fertilising is really important to deliver nutrients to your edibles, to get them growing really well. I'm going to use a manure pelletised fertiliser like this, and I'm going to apply side dressings of it probably every 6 weeks. You can also do liquid fertilisers probably every 2 to 3 weeks if you're keen. Once you've done that, keep in mind that you want to have that successive and continual cropping I reckon in about a fortnight, because we're a bunch of lettuce lovers at my house, I'm going to plant another punnet. And then another 2 to 3 weeks on from that, I'm going to even plant a third punnet. So that when these guys are finishing, we've got a second and even then a third crop coming in behind. So to get started, what do you need to consider first off? Most of your edibles really do require a full sun position. This is where your plants receive at least 5 to 6 hours sun a day. Next step is soil preparation. If you're using pots or large containers, use a good quality potting mix. Today's WaterWise tip, presented by SEQ Water, is organic matter. And this is really important to help conserve moisture and water. This way you won't have to water as often because the organic matter within your soil profile will help retain moisture around your plant roots. Organic matter such as compost, well-rotted animal manures, mushroom compost, even worm castings are all great additions to tick that box of adding organic matter to your soil. If you're starting with an existing garden bed, this is quite easy. Dig it through to around about 30 centimetres. If you're starting from scratch on a bare patch of lawn, remove the top layer of the lawn first and then start digging down. If the soil's really hard, you might want to consider doing a no-dig garden. And this is great fun for the whole family to get involved in, whether you're potting, no-dig gardening, or preparing an existing garden bed. Thank you for joining us today for this episode of Green Thumbs Up. I've run you through a whole range of great tips to get you and your family started on your journey to creating an edible garden. Hopefully this has inspired you and given you the courage to have a go.